Hi, this is Severen Henderson. This is another episode of Department 3C Presents a podcast. Still, that's the name we're going to work with. That's the name we're going to go with. And we'll see feedback-wise how it may change. But for now, that's what we're going to roll with. So today I'm here with a coworker, but more than a coworker, one of my good friends, Darrell Payne. I'm going to give him a chance to introduce himself. We're going to go through the podcast the way we go through every episode with our general outline, our general format, and we're just going to get into a nice conversation. So, DP, can I call you DP on the podcast?
Of course you can.
All
DP
right.
Sounds great.
All right, DP. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Government name, Darrell Payne, better known as DP. Chicago firefighter, been on a job physically for 8 years. I get into more why I say physically later. Currently, I'm an engineer in the 5th District, relieving there. Came from the Truck 24, only single truck in the entire city. Getting that work in the hundreds in the south side of the city. I currently teach for IFSI, multiple disciplines, including high angle rescue, confined space vehicle extrication. I teach for Polaris on the hazmat side with radiological investigation. Currently, right now, just primary and secondary radiological detection. Also teach for NIPSTA, different cornerstone classes, as well as I've taught CPR there. I have a few candidate classes under my belt at the Quinn, and recently just became a part of the hazmat team for USAR, Illinois Task Force 1.
Man, that is a resume and a half. That's awesome. That's really good. That speaks a lot to you and your motivations and how you present yourself and put forth, and that's really what's up. What made you not just want to be a firefighter, but what made you want to do all of those things you just told us about?
Oh, wow. That is a very awesome question. So the wanting to be a firefighter, let's start there.
Okay.
Coming from where the neighborhood I came from in Roseland, we were not really introduced to the fire service in a real traditional or formal way. There was a firehouse right behind my grammar school, which I know now to be Engine 62, Truck 27.
Right.
I went to Curtis Elementary right there on 115 off state. And honestly, I've only been into that firehouse once before I got on the job, and it was a class trip in some grade or another. Don't remember.
Okay.
Moving forward in life, I decided to go into IT. I was information technology, specifically network and data center engineer. And prior to me actually getting into that field in a real formal way, I did the normal IT things, more lower level, A++ type things, desktop stuff. And things happen. The company that I was working for at the time ended up folding. I needed a job.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was given a test in 1995. The one career I knew I never wanted to be was a police officer. That was just not my thing. Mm-hmm. And when the fire test came available, I took it.
Okay.
I know I felt so solid. I was just waiting for a call. Like, okay, when do I start again? Didn't know the process. I thought, you do a test and in 2 weeks you'll be working for them. So I'm looking in the mail and nothing happened. So I was like, okay, got to go on with my life. Lo and behold, a whole lot of stuff happened with the city and the union and yada, yada, yada. 17 years later, I get a letter saying, hey, there's a class action suit. You are harmed, which I didn't know at the time. And I ended up with the job 17 years later. Okay. Which was the absolute positive best thing that ever happened to me. It was just unreal.
I'm with that.
Coming out of corporate where you actually sit 5 feet away from the person you want to choke to sleep every single day is one of the most difficult things in the world. To be honest, I loved IT. Okay. I really love what I did. I love the data center work. I kind of created my own position in that company. But I only did it 20% of the day.
Right.
The other 80% was administration and babysitting and following up to the follow-ups. And I literally had to go in at 6 o'clock in the morning, though I started at 9, because at 9 o'clock, once everybody made into the office, my desk was crowded with people badgering me for stupid stuff. I couldn't. Anyway, like I was saying, getting on the job saved my life. Like, it kept me out of jail from killing somebody, and it allowed me to go and do something that I really enjoy. Because I got on the job the way that I did, I had to figure out a way to get a 30-year career squeezed into a 17-year time frame. Okay. So I hit the ground running. Anything that came available, I took advantage of it.
Okay, so that makes total sense. Like you said, anything that comes along, you take advantage of it. That's exactly what that resume shows to us. Now, you have a teenager pretty much of a career, a 17-year wait to get to where you were at. As far as speaking to your time that you were here, that you are here in the city now, how are you able to, like you just talked about, squeezing that time into the little bit of time that you say now? How are you able to do that? Can you talk to us a little bit about that, please?
Well, it's difficult because you're always trying to balance life, family life, work life. Being on a fire department and coming from a 40-hour-a-week job, it became kind of easy. It was different because, okay, if you're looking at it, you're working 2 days a week, right? Without 24 or 48. Right. When you work the 9-to-5 jobs, them 40 hours are spread across 5 days. So you're literally living for the weekend. So now it was like, okay, I got all this extra time, at least in my mind. I thought I did. What I realized was I was so unaware and so unfamiliar with the schedule. I packed so much stuff into my life, I had less time. Right. Like literally between taking classes and teaching classes and going after different certifications and taking advantage of other opportunities that became available to me. My family was the one that was probably losing out the most. Even though I'm very, very, very active in my kids' life, it's still, you could tell I was going for weeks at a time, taking classes or giving classes or whatever the case may be. Right. So that was probably the most difficult thing, but I felt it to be a need. And now my son grows up as a first responder's kid. So his mentality and the way that he moves around is so different than the way I moved around. Right. He understands my schedule. Matter of fact, he really understands my schedule better than my wife. And normally he's the person that's telling him, no, daddy got to work that day. Okay. Daddy had to work that day.
So he has the calendar down.
Oh, without a doubt. And he's probably better than me because I normally have to pull out my phone and say, oh, yeah, that's a work day. He'd be like,
he already knows.
I knew it already.
He already have it in his brain.
No doubt.
You got an awesome son, by the way, too. We got to
you.
spend some time together as well. And just watching him grow and do stuff is just awesome.
I appreciate that. Oh, and I'm sorry, real quick.
Yes.
Terrible introduction because I forgot I am married.
Okay.
been with my wife since I was 18 years old. I have 2 kids, one 25-year-old girl who have blessed me with 3 beautiful grandsons, 4 years old, 2-year-old, and 8 months old. And then my 12-year-old son, who was basically just a mini me with long hair.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Well, we were coming along to that anyway. I mean, when I said who, you just gave me the career who. This show is more than just about fire stuff. This is about life because even though we work in this service of public safety, we still have lives outside of here. And like a friend told me, we're looking for our and. So that's what this show is about. That's what I'm trying to promote. So. Don't worry, I was going to hit you for that. I wanted to get that extra up out you, but you
just in case my family hears this, he left out the kids.
So, nah, yeah, right. you got it. He didn't forget you guys. So, you gave us a lot. That motivation that you have is phenomenal. That drive that you have to push yourself, and you talked to us a little bit about that balance. Give me a touch more for our other first responders out there that may be having issues with that work-life balance.
Oh, wow.
What do you do?
Definitely. I don't want to come off as if I had a plan because I screw this up all the time. Let's put it like this. I have the answer. I just don't necessarily follow it all the time.
Okay.
So the best thing to do is plan. You have to schedule. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. period. It's real easy, real simple. If you wake up and kind of don't know what your day or your week is going to consist of, you're pretty much going to get pulled from everywhere. One of the major issues with our job is because we work 24 on, 48 off, people think we don't work. So you get sucked into a lot of crap that you probably shouldn't be sucked into just because they don't he's off. Depending on how busy your house is, and with me being a reliever, it changed from day to day. So again, some days I get off work and I'm recovering from that day, the previous day, and then the next day is just preparing mentally for me going back to work. So you have to understand that the majority of the world do not understand what you do for a living.
Right.
They really don't get it. So you have to be kind of a, again, this is we talking free, right? You got to be kind of asshole to a degree when it comes to your time and your schedule.
Yes.
You have to put yourself in place and put yourself first, which for firefighters, first responders, is very difficult. You would be surprised. Most people have a problem doing that.
No, I completely understand. And that's the problems. That's what I want to speak to other people with families about. Not even with families, a single life. I remember I worked with a guy, and the married guys I was single back then, but all the married guys were saying, oh man, it's so hard. We got to spend time with our family, spend times doing this. And the single guy was like, what about me? I don't have anybody to help me pay bills in the house or have something ready for me when I go home. I got to go out here and find.
That's right. Do it yourself.
Right. Do it yourself. So I don't want to make it seem like, hey, you got a family. It's tough. No, for single guy, it's tough. It's tough either way it goes. This is a very demanding career. I don't want to call it a job. This is a very demanding career. And mentally, physically, sometimes it takes a lot from you.
No doubt. Speaking on that, again, I don't want to take off of what you're talking about. You have to be aware, again, outside world really don't understand what we're doing. And I truly believe it's really in the recent years they've become awareness even for first responders, where we look at things that happen in the fire service where, okay, in a year's period, we may have across the country 100 firefighters' deaths, but there's literally 3 times more suicides in the fire service. So we have to look at those issues and understand, or try to get an understanding of why and how our job is actually affecting us is so important. We're beyond the age of toughen up and suck it up and all of that. Hey, we smarter than that, and we need to act like we're smarter than that.
And again, that's what this show is about. So thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up and saying that, because suicide, I talked a bit about it on my last episode, but that is like the problem that I see, that I'm at least trying to start a conversation to figure it out.
No doubt.
Lack of sleep, I feel like, plays a huge factor into that, because you said, depending on how busy you are, it varies for you right now, but your 2 days off really aren't days off. They're really, and that's just speaking for the fire aspect.
That's right.
Our medics on our job, they work 1 day on and 3 days off, and I haven't had a chance to work that schedule, because even when I did go to the AMBO, I still had the 2 days off. Mm-hmm. But those 2 days off really aren't for you to be doing. It's not like off for real. Like, hey, 9 to 5, 5 o'clock, I'm off and do what I want to do. You have to take care of yourself. You have to find some time to sleep. You have to find some time to rest. You have to find some time to work out. You have to find some time to educate yourself. You still have to have that family time. So, like I was saying, that lack of sleep to me is a huge identifier, in my opinion. I don't have a study on it, but that's an identifier of one of the reasons we are having issues as a whole.
No doubt. I actually was speaking to oh my God, I cannot think. Again, I'm not trying to give anybody a free plug. So I would just say they were a fitness team for any type of career that is stressful. So military, police, fire, EMS, anything along that line.
Right.
And they actually have the statistics and numbers in regards to how we sleep, how we eat, because it cannot be consistent. What you do at home cannot possibly be what you do at the firehouse. You can't control when you're going to get the calls. you'll have a day where you get to sleep through the entire night, and then you have days where you're up every 30 to 45 minutes.
Right.
So that plays a large part. So what they try to do is create a system where since it can't be consistent for 7 days a week, we try to make it where it's consistent based on your schedule. So how you get a nap, studies have shown, according to this particular group of people, that right after lunch is the best time to nap, anywhere from 25 minutes to 2 hours.
Okay.
And again, at some point I'll get you that information. Maybe you can put it in your comments or whatever.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a major plus. But they did as far as the sleep study, nutrition study, exercise study. And I think it's awesome. I think it's one of the most awesome things in the world. And I've actually reached out to the chief of training. Haven't had a chance to sit down and have a real conversation with him, but to see if we can possibly get a pilot program and bring that particular company in and do some studies within the city. Because I think that would be a big plus.
I agree with you, because we have to solve every problem, but we have to solve that problem in particular.
Yeah, no doubt.
Our members taking their own lives is not good. It's not what we want to happen. Let's talk. Let's go on a little bit. So we know where you're from. You told us where you're from as a kid and where the firehouse was behind you. Can you let's talk a little bit more about where you're from, where you're at now in the job and career.
Okay. Where I'm from. So specifically from Roland, the 60628 area, 117th Street to be exact. Like I said, I went to Curtis Elementary School, right there on State and 115th Street. I actually got my degree in 60628. A lot of people can't say that, but I'm actually an alumni of Chicago State University, which is right there on 95th, right off King Drive.
Yep.
So like I say, I grew up right here in the city. I have military background, Illinois Army National Guard. I actually went to basic training 6 days after I graduated from high school. Once I came back, I was part of the 178, first of the 178 Infantry, right there on 55th and Cottage Grove. So again, I am a city boy. I lived in Irvine, California for 2 years while I was studying IT, where I got a lot of certifications in my other life as far as Microsoft, security, messaging, Cisco. I was actually a CCNP, which is a Cisco Certified Network Professional. Again, like I said, another life. Not trying to get into that crap.
Yeah, it's fine. Hey, it's life.
Yeah, that's right. So I did that, but I am definitely grown here. Currently, I live in Ashburn, right next to Hayes Park on 84th Place.
All right.
And I like it. It's different. Again, you kind of forced me into social economic conversations to a degree, but coming from Roseland, which again, my parents moved there when I was 6 months old. So I saw that place when I came up. It was beautiful. People do not realize how wonderful, like Roseland was ridiculous. When you went down Michigan Avenue, every store, anything that you want to buy was there. They had its own movie theaters. People still go there and get the donuts from, good old fashioned. They still go there.
Okay.
But we had the Woolworths there, the Gately's there, the Herman Army Surplus there, A&P Deli was there, Tourist Flavor, the ice cream parlor. Woolworth had a ice cream parlor where it actually sat outside, where you could see outside with this big glass window. You sit and eat ice cream. It was beautiful. Then the 80s came and crack came.
Okay.
And you was on one side or the other. 9 times out of 10, depending on the age group you was talking about, you was either selling or using.
Yep.
And I honestly saw that neighborhood go from sugar to shit within 5 to 10 years, and no exaggeration.
And that happened to a lot of our neighborhoods. And as everyone knows, I'm from Ohio originally, so I didn't get the opportunity to see all of that outstanding stuff that you're talking about that was in Roseland neighborhood. But it hit us the exact same way. New York, Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago, just Midwest, East Coast cities. It just hit us like a ton of bricks. And it still has its impact today. It's just different types of drugs, but it still hits us to this day. And those are conversations for that we could have like part 1, 2, 3
Oh yeah, no doubt.
of an episode about that. But
real quick, on that note though,
yeah,
let me show you how uncommon it was for the type of crime that we see in that area now. From then, can't remember the exact year, but Time Life magazine ran a story about Yummy Sandiford. You might have heard that name before.
Yeah,
he was an 11-year-old boy who was assassinated by gang members.
Right. Not just killed.
Assassinated. I'm saying that word specifically for a very specific reason.
On purpose. That's what I want to highlight.
He was a kid that, you know, lived the life that he was living. But what he ended up doing was shooting an innocent girl while she was jumping rope on the street, because his actions brought so much heat to the gang members, drug dealers in that area. They took him under the Metro tracks, which is still there, the electric line over there on 107th, and I can't remember the name of the street. It started with a D.
Okay.
Under the tracks, gagged, bound him, shot him in the back of the head.
Yep.
This made a national periodical. There is so much crime that goes on in this area now that they couldn't possibly report on all of it.
No, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But think about the difference from then. This was the 90s. Right. From then to now. When they wrote that article, 90% of all Roseland residents owned their property, meaning they were mortgage holders, if not free and clear. The majority of the area now is rented out.
Yep.
Owned by investors.
Owned by somebody else. And people just, and man, you're giving us a lot to chew on, because that's another conversation about renters versus owners and how people treat their property, and just how the entire area responds to that. I mean, Chicago is a city of neighborhoods, and those neighborhoods come together to make a grand city. And in different places you can do different things, but in that neighborhood there, right, like you said, we're not seeing the ownership. So let's speak to that, because I know that's another big thing for you that we want to talk about and we want to delve into. So give me the what behind the other ventures that you're trying, that we're not trying to, but that you're doing.
Oh yeah, this is great. I love to talk about this. So I recently just started my first business, actual business, registered in the state, the whole 9 yards. So it's called DTB, Real Estate Investment Firm. It stands for Down to Business. And what we're doing right now is we're what people would normally call buying and flipping, buying houses and adding value, putting money into them and selling them. Again, I'm looking for people to have home ownership. At some point, I will be renting, buying homes, and whatever building I buy, I plan on adding value to it, making it better than what it is when I purchased it. And at that point, I'll be renting out to other people. The reason why this is so big to me, I really believe that in this country, we look at real estate weird, different now. Back in the day, property ownership was a big thing. To say that I own property, that was an establishment for you and your family. That was a real big to do. And now it seems like renting or leasing or whatever the case may be, just to get out of the responsibility of being a homeowner, is a lot more palatable or desirable.
Yes.
And I really want to bring that awareness. I mean, to the point where I don't believe you should own one property. Nobody, if you own, everybody should have two properties. Okay. And the reason why is, why pay your own mortgage? At the end of the day, you are in the real estate game one way or the other. That's guaranteed. The question is on what side of the cash register.
Are you going to be the owner, or
are you going to collect, or are you going to give it?
Okay.
It's one way or the other. And even if you are a home owner, why pay your own mortgage? Why not get a building and allow that to pay for yourself? Okay. Again, how much extra headache is it for you to sign your name, even though mortgage papers, they are scary, because it's like 75,000 of them that you initial, and then you sign at least 200. But it's still worth it, because now you have more of a voice because you actually own more property. Okay. So if you're really trying to bring your area up and you're really trying to do something for a community, I think one of the first things to really start looking at is your mindset of when it comes to property ownership.
I love that. Mindset is a huge thing. That's, you got to get your thoughts together to be able to get in that mode. So speaking of that, I remember when we first started talking about this, I said, "Oh, that's a great idea. That's what's up." And you said, "Yeah, but you're not my target market." And I was like, "Well, damn." So, let's talk about who your target market is and who are you aiming for? Who are we talking to?
Well, first, let's deal with what I said to you specifically. You're not my target market because mindset-wise, we are very similar. Now, again, I believe I can introduce you to something.
So now you turn it into a compliment.
It is a compliment, man.
I'm just joking. I'm just messing with you.
I honestly believe I can introduce you to something, give you a thin slice of whatever it is, and you are a research person. You're very much like me. You're going to follow up and read and blah, 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 and go from that point. Besides that, I think we are not that far away in age. I am looking specifically more towards millennials. I don't want to say that I gave up on my generation because I haven't. But I do believe that my generation needs to see examples of people winning in exactly the way that I'm talking about winning. My generation is a very Missouri generation. Show me.
Yeah.
Show me. You can't tell me about it.
Yeah.
You literally have to show it to me. So what I'm realizing based on my I guess my age, me being looked at, this is so hard for me to say, elder to the millennial generation, that I have more of a voice with them.
Okay.
And when I see them, I breathe real estate into them because ownership means so much. And I really would like to get them out of the mindset of I'm just going to be okay in this apartment, or I'm gonna be okay in mom's basement. Shame on you if you're in mom's basement. Get out of mom's basement. We got to do better.
Call to action.
That's right.
Get out of the basement.
Get out the basement.
Buy some places. But yeah, I totally understand that. Where specifically, is there any area? I mean, you got the business, you got it going. Is there any area that you're trying to do this in, or any place you're trying to pitch more to than not?
Any area specifically? No. And the reason why I'm focusing mainly in Chicago, I mean, like 95% of my business is in the city.
Okay.
Of course, if there's opportunities outside the city where I can see it will help, that would completely be economical. But things in the city is really, for me, it's more social. The Roseland community, again, I'm so attached to 60628, it's not funny. The 60619 area, the Woodlawn area, I believe that's a beautiful area as far as renting. There's a lot of opportunity there to bring up blocks. You made the comment that Chicago is a city of communities. Really, Chicago is really a city of blocks because honestly, you could be on one block and it'd be the most beautiful, well-kept, well-manicured, neighborly, everybody waving at you block, and you can turn the corner and it look like Beirut.
Yeah, you go to the next
street. It's the weirdest
over.
thing in the entire world. But it's still opportunities in those areas, and again, bringing up the mindset of how important where you live and making sure it is maintained and cared for. I really want to try to infuse that into the area. So again, 60628. I do things via zip code. That's based on.
That's fine.
That's a lot of that comes from another life when I worked for FedEx. But 60628, 60652, which is actually where I live now in Ashburn. Again, that's more of a middle class, should I say working class community. You get a lot of firefighters, police officers, teachers, postal workers in that area. And again, because I live there, I do have a self-interest in it, because if I can make my property go from $200,000 to $300,000, that's a beautiful thing.
Why not? Right?
Why not?
Well, experiences are what make you. And I was just reading a book about this and how you incorporate it. And those experiences, your other life, you talking to area codes, that's awesome to me. I like that. The other thing that you said that I appreciate is you're right. It is a series of blocks. I mean, if you break it down even smaller, true, we have our different neighborhoods, Chatham, Woodline, Pullman, Roseland. But you're right. You go one block over, it looks great. You come to one block the other way, we in trouble. And that's one of it's not a difference. I feel like that's just something we see in our communities, because that's the exact same way it was for my old department, my old city that I lived in, East Cleveland. We had it was called going up the hill. You go up the hill, it's mansions. You come back down that hill, like, uh-oh, where we at? And when I came here and I worked on the west side, we have a street on the west side that is beautiful. Like, you have to be in a homeowners association. You can't change the roof without having written permission, things like that.
Oh, wow.
Then you go to the next block over, and again, it's, oh man, we in trouble. You better put our hands in our pockets and walk real fast. So I appreciate you saying that. You're right to get me together. Well, we kind of went through everything. We know all the stuff, the who, what, where, when, why, how you getting there. Is that, well, actually, let's talk about that. Is there another how as to how are you going to get this done? How you feel like you are going towards this movement?
Well, stage one is actually, again, the procurement of the properties, trying to bring up these neighborhoods. Again, economically, you got to think, if you want a political voice, you have to have something that the politicians are looking for in regards to their interests. Unfortunately, they should be representing us without that requirement, but that's not always the case. So again, I'm not going to pretend like I live in this utopia. And you have to have something there. Once we can actually get a better grip or better grasp on real estate ownership and caring for our community, we can actually go and start requesting, almost demanding from aldermen and politicians to start taking care of these areas, bringing commerce into these areas, providing things in these areas that don't require us to leave, that we can actually have pride in. Again, there's so much that didn't happen in just this year. 2020 has been one hell of a year. Yeah. That shows that the businesses in these communities are not taking care of the people in these communities. They are getting paid from them, but they are not taking care of them. And I don't like to point fingers. I believe the problem is the collective of everybody. The businesses, as far as their mentality, the politicians not stepping up doing their job, and the communities not stepping up requiring more out of these places, as well as showing that they care about their own neighborhoods and communities. It's a collective of wrong. But once we can, again, change the mindset and do better, I believe we can put a lot more political pressure to get us the help that we need in these areas. So it sounds to me like, and it's one of my favorite things to promote, is ownership. You're saying not the ownership of the homes, but you're saying self-ownership of the person within themselves to get their mindset together to be able to tackle these issues and tackle these problems. Yes,
so
that's right.
Instead of pointing the finger all the time, we can have some ownership within ourselves.
Accountability. Being responsible. Yeah. Yes, you have to. The very first thing you have to look at with any problem is, what part do I play in the problem?
Okay, that's what I love to hear. That's what I try and say to myself, and anytime I see an issue, that's how I try to approach it. Try and fix me first before I can go fixing everybody else.
Mike said, "Man in the mirror." That's right.
Okay, I'm with that. Now, one other quick thing, then we'll go to something else.
Okay.
Being somebody from another city, here, what it seems like is people are really invested and married to the neighborhoods or the communities that they're already in. Like, for me, it's so crazy that there are people who live on the west side that have never been to the south side, and vice versa. It's people on the south side, they never been out west. And you mention that to them, they're like, oh, nah, it's just like you saying a bad word. What do you think? Well, I know, like, people are usually set in ways. They have studies that show people end up dying like not even 7 miles from where they were born. Mm-hmm. But what do you think could promote some of the moving around in our neighborhoods for us? Because like today I talked to you, I said, yeah, we got to go up north to do this. Oh, I'm not familiar with up there.
Yeah, true. This is true.
And when I moved here, I stayed up north. Now I live south. I worked on the west side. So I feel like I have a firm grasp on the majority of the city. And I only think that's because I'm from somewhere else.
I agree.
What about the people who are here? Do you think that's a good thing, a bad thing? Just give me your thoughts on it.
Oh, it's absolute positive horrible thing. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. The Chicago is actually the place for us to have 2 baseball teams is probably the dumbest thing in the world, because everything in Chicago, you try to find a reason to separate and be different. So you get the South Side team, which is the Sox. And again, I'm kind of making light of it, but I get more serious in a second.
Okay.
You get the South Side team, which is the Sox. And then you get the North Side team, which is the Cubs. And they're actually fans that will fist fight each other over who's the best team. It's the most ridiculous, unbelievable thing in the entire freaking planet. But
I've seen it.
Exactly. It's unreal.
I've seen it.
But on a more serious note, Chicago, probably outside of Philadelphia. I learned this when I moved to California for the 2 years I was there. I was actually in Irvine, California, so I was right by Laguna Beach, Newport Beach. I was 45 minutes away from LA and an hour away from San Diego. So I was like smack dead in the middle of a lot of great stuff going on. Living there actually showed me that you can actually be in a community where there's multiple types of people in the same freaking community.
Okay.
And you live just fine. There was everything there. We didn't look at and we didn't identify Caucasian people as Caucasian. We identified them from where they were from. They were Irish, or they were Italian, or they were Croatian, or they were English, or from Wales. You knew exactly what their background was. Mm-hmm. Here, we're not going that far. Black, white.
Yeah.
Christian, Muslim.
Yeah.
Male, female. Mm-hmm. Cub, Sox. It's the dumbest thing in the entire world. So once you get into you grow up in an environment, everywhere else is the devil. That's why you don't know the West Side. You don't know the North Side. If you go to the West Side, it was a club called the Bucket of Blood, and they was cutting off people's heads. And dude, this is a real story. I'm telling you, I grew up with this mess in my mind.
Uh-huh.
You don't go to the North Side because they don't want you up there. And I was like, dude, are you freaking serious?
Yeah.
You have to be willing to expose yourself to more. But in this city, you are literally breaking out of a mindset that you learn as an adolescent.
Yes.
And it's not hard. I know I am an anomaly when it comes to the way that I think, just from the people that I grew up with. Mm-hmm. And I talk to these people on a normal basis, and I always had to catch myself like, I can't really get into an argument with you because I know you haven't allowed yourself to be exposed the way that I have.
It's that mindset.
It's the mindset.
Yeah, so it's hard. First, you have to recognize there's something going on. That's the first step. If you don't see a problem, it ain't nothing I can say.
Yeah, Joe says.
Right, there you go.
Knowing is half the battle.
Knowing is half the battle. That's right. So there you go. I appreciate that. All right, DP, we had a real great, outstanding conversation. Like I said, we can do this forever.
No doubt.
And I would love to have you back, and let's do this again.
For sure.
Let's do this. Is there anywhere you want people to contact you for the business, for fire? Do you want people to contact you at all?
Sure. If you're looking, so real quick, a real quick definition. Right now, and I honestly just got a text from one of my real estate mentors telling me, house hacking. House hacking is you buying a building. In Illinois, if you buy any building that has less than 4 units, it's still considered single family. You are not looking at a commercial property unless it's 5 units or more. So house hacking is you buying a property with multiple units, you living in one unit and renting the other ones out. And I literally just got the text saying now is one of the absolute positive best times to house hack. If this is something that you are looking to do, you can contact me. My number is 773-633-0717. We'll go over a whole bunch of different things. If you don't worry about your credit, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that it won't play a part, but we can get you where you need to be, and we can go from there. So, again, if you're interested in doing it, give me a holler. And we can go from there. If you're just interested in getting a turnkey property where you're looking to rent out something to better your income, get your money out the bank, that's a whole nother conversation, and put into something that's really going to make you some money, again, you can contact me. Same number, 773-633-0717.
Any email, any social medias?
No, not yet. Again, real estate is actually a very antiquated. They kind of like the fire department. They like paper. So we are getting better with it. There's a lot of platforms that are app related, especially, with the Zillow, Redfin, blah, blah, blah. The problem with those things are they are not regulated. So when you're talking to an agent, you're talking to real people that's in real estate, they are regulated to update the MLS. It have to be in real time. Those places, they have you looking at properties that's been sold for 2-3 years. Okay. So don't buy into that too much. Okay. And again, this is something you wouldn't know unless you actually into the business. So.
Okay. Well, that's all outstanding. One last time, let's get that number one just to make sure.
Sure. 773-633-0717.
That's Darrell Payne.
Darrell Payne.
There you go.
Or DP.
Or DP. Send him a text. Let him know you're calling in advance.
That's right.
All right. Darrell, thank you very much for being my guest.
Oh, thank you for having me, man. This was fun.
When you get a chance, if you're listening to this show and you're this far into it, please like, rate, review, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I'm trying to get the Department 3C Presents a podcast going on a large scale, so please help me do that. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me, and until the next episode, everybody be safe.
Be safe out there.
This has been a Fire and Iron Media production. You have something to say, people want to listen. How's that, Daddy?